What's up, guys? Welcome to Demo with Mo. I'm your host, Monique Simmons. We'll be discussing dating, engaged, and married objectives from a young Christian's perspective. Are you guys ready? Let's dive in. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of Demo with Mo. I am your host, Monique Simmons, and today is our final episode on the Mother's Day series. We will officially be closing out the series on today. And to close out this series, I have invited my own mom to come join me. I opened the series up with my daughter. So I thought it was only right to invite my very own mom, since we have been talking about the whole month of May, the different relationships that we have with our mothers and those different kinds of mothers, those bonus and stepmoms, mom-in-laws, our various relationships. So I only thought it would be fitting to close out the month of May and close out the Mother's Day series with my very own mom. So today I have her joining me, Miss Cassandra A.G. Welcome, Mama.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview with me and joining me today. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Okay, so to open up, I usually do, for guests that I invite on, I usually do like a small bio or an introduction, or I have the guests introduce themselves, or I usually give like some fun little question. That's what we've been doing this whole month of May. We've kind of been focusing the introduction on different things about motherhood, how you see yourself as a mom, how you describe yourself as a mom, those kind of things. So your question today is, how would you describe yourself as a first-time mom? Because you had me, for my listeners, those who've been rocking with me for a while know that I had my first child, my son, at the age of 19. But some of you may not know this. My mom had me at the age of 19. So, Mom, how would you describe yourself when you first had me, your first child, at a very young age, the ripe age of 19? How would you describe yourself back then? What kind of mom were you?
I didn't know anything. I had to depend on my mom and my grandmother and your dad's mom and his stepfather. They were very good. So I had to depend on people like that to help me. And I had a lot of help. But like I said, I didn't know anything. So, I had to learn.
Okay. Shout out to the village. You know, we've talked about that over this Mother's Day series, how important the village is, how important the people that you do life with in that support system, how important it is. So thank you. Thank you to my mom's village, who was my village. So we appreciate you. Okay, Mom. So your answer takes me into my first question for you. Where did you draw inspiration from as a mother? Because you were young, first time mom. As you said, you didn't know what you were doing. Where did you draw inspiration from? Like, who inspired you? Who kind of did you look to on learning how to become a mother?
Who really inspired me was my grandmother. My grandmother kept me when I was 4 years old, and she kept me all the way up till I was 16. And she was my role model. My grandmother was the type of person, when I was growing up, my grandmother worked at school pictures. And how children are now, we weren't like that then. When my grandmother left, I didn't do anything. I did my homework. I watched TV. At 8 o'clock, I had to go to bed. Nobody was there, but I still did what she told me to do. She never had to wonder, did I not do what she told me to do or anything? She was my backbone. She was my support. I don't care what happened. She was there for me. Even when I went off to college and would come home, she would make sure I had groceries to go back to school. She would always fill my car up. She was just that type of person that I could count on. I remember when you was a little girl and I was working at Walmart and your dad had to work at Frito-Lay at night, and I had to be at Walmart at 5 o'clock in the morning. My grandmother would come over there at night about 7 o'clock, stay there all night. I went to work at Walmart. She would cook you breakfast and drop you off at the daycare. Now, what kind of grandmother does that? My grandmother was so awesome. And I remember the time I had your brother and I got sick. I called my grandmother. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I said, Grandmama, I am so sick. She said, I'm on my way. She came there, stayed with me all night until I felt better. She was just the epitome of what a good mother and grandmother is. So she was my role model.
Girl, that was good there. And I have to ditto everything you just said about my grandmother Doris, who was my great grandmother. She was special to me. I talk about her so much, especially now that she's not here anymore, because a lot of times we as humans, we take things for granted until we don't have them anymore. My great grandmother loved me. I'm talking about loved me so much. It was nothing that she would not do for me. She loved not only me, but she loved my husband and took him in just like he was a part of her family and a grandchild. And she loved my babies. Like my daughter, the baby girl, Zoe, she even now every night sleeps with a crochet blanket that my great grandmother crocheted for my middle daughter before she passed away. Like, my great grandmother would call me in the last few years of her life when her health started to dwindle. You know, she couldn't drive anymore, so she would have to depend on other people. And I would take her to her doctor's appointments and grocery shopping, with just whatever. And she just didn't ask for much. She would do everything for everybody else, but she didn't ask for much. So whenever she called me to do something, I would drop everything and I would do whatever she needed me to do because she didn't ask for much. But she's so sweet and she cares so much about me. And not just me, our family in general. But she knew that my husband and I, we were young when we got married and started our family. We were struggling financially at the time. She would call me and say, Nikki, for my listeners, if you're wondering who Nikki is, my family calls me Nikki. She would call me and say, Nikki, I need you to take me to the grocery store today, or when you get off work tomorrow, or something like that, every single month, like clockwork. And I would drop everything or move things around to be able to take her where she needed to go. So each month we get to the grocery store. I'll take her in the store, walk with her. She say, grab you a basket. You know, I know you guys may need a few things. And after a few months, I start putting the pieces together. We would get to the register. My grandmother would only have a couple things in her basket. And sometimes my basket would be full because she would force me, like on each aisle, get that for the kids. I know Corey would love that. And I began to realize she was doing those grocery runs so that my family could have groceries in the house because we were struggling. She wasn't doing those grocery runs for her, but she was doing them for me. And that's how much she loved me. So what my mother is telling you about her grandmother, my great grandmother, is just so true. That's the epitome of who she was. She was a Christian woman. She loved God and she loved her family. So I miss her so much. So thank you, Mama, for that. Okay. So this next question is, and I need to know this for myself. A lot of the earlier years of my life, I really do not remember. How was our relationship in my younger years? Like before I hit that preteen age, what was you and I's relationship like?
We had fun. You was they used to have that pre-K, and you were so smart because when you was going to daycare, I had to think about it. They taught you so good. You were so smart. But back then, when you was going to pre-K, you had to take a test and you had to pass the test. So I took you to Walton and you took the test, you passed the test. Girl, you were so smart. You were so smart. You were just so smart. And I used to love to dress you up in cute little old clothes. My grandma used to always say, how many more clothes you gonna buy this girl? I would buy you these little old pretty clothes. You were just so cute. And let me tell you, this is the funniest thing. We went to Izetta's son was getting baptized. He was a little old bitty baby. So me, grandmama, Aunt Joyce, and you went with us to Atlanta for his baptism. Girl, we went to Shoney's. I never forget. You had on the cutest thing. You had on these biking little shorts and a little top and your little shoes. You look so cute. This little boy saw you. You maybe been one. He saw you. He was like 4 because his parents told me. He was so infatuated with you. He wanted to eat. He wanted to eat with us. His parents said, no, he did not want to leave you. We fell out laughing. That little boy liked you so much. It was all us, girl. We had so much fun, but you was such a vibrant little girl and you had fun and you're a good girl. Like I said, when you were going to Walton, you were so smart. Oh, you were so smart. You remember when you was going to Watkins and you did that little speech and you would make an honor roll and they'll have churches for us to eat. You remember that? You remember that?
No,
You were
that's
so
what
smart, man. Girl, you were so smart. they used to have the honor roll for the parents. When the kids make the honor roll, they would have this dinner for the parents and the kids. Girl, we had churches, but you were smart. And this little boy, and he had a crush on you, and he bought you. He bought you, gave you some money, or bought you some jewelry or something. And I told you had to give it back. But do you remember any of that?
I remember the little boy having a crush on me. I do remember that, but I
What
don't
did he
remember
just
what he
bought you
gave me.
something?
I don't
He
know.
did something. Because his mom told me. I said, for real? But anyway, you was such a little dog. But let me tell you, in church, you were bad. You hollered. You didn't want to go to this lady saw me at Cato, and she said, "You remember your daughter? She was just so bad." I said, "Well, she just didn't want to sit down." I said, "But now she is so good." Had to let her know that. But anyway, and you was a daddy's girl. You loved your daddy, girl. Wasn't nothing. It wasn't anything. He could do wrong. Y'all was just like together. And just like one time you got locked up in the car by mistake. We had to call the fire department. Girl, we had to call the fire department. It was so funny. So your dad stayed right there in the window looking at you, talking, and you were hollering, ah! And he was saying, "It's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay." And you was just a hollering. But girl, you was a daddy's girl. Your daddy loved you. You loved your daddy. Girl. And I mean, one time his stepdad loved you so much, he gave us some money to take you to the fair. And girl, we let you ride everything till you got tired. You rode everything. Do you hear me? And back then it was like $100. And back then $100 went a long way. It don't go a long way now, but $100 to the fair back then went a long way. You got everything. And we had to go back and show him what you got and everything. And you told him what you got. And it was just, you was something. You was something else. You were an awesome little girl. And I can see you and Zoe. You and Zoe remind me of each other. Zoe is you when you was a little girl. If you see how Zoe act, that was you. You was a diva. I used to love to have your hair put all them bows in. You said, "Mama, quit putting all them bows in my hair." You remember that?
No.
I used to put them bows in your hair all the time. Your hair was so pretty. But yeah, you was dressed. You was a true, you and Zoe, true diva. Look at Zoe, that's you.
I could totally believe it. Okay, so thank you for taking me down memory lane, because a lot of that stuff I do not remember. But as I told you, a lot of the earlier years I don't remember. So you told me a lot about me. You told me about my relationship with my dad, how I felt, which I've always been a daddy's girl, and as long as I could remember back then, until I got grown and out the house. But you didn't tell me what kind of relationship you and I had. That was the question.
I told you what we had. I said we had. I told you everything we had.
You told me how you dressed me. You told me what kind of child I was. You didn't tell me our interaction with one another. No, you didn't.
Oh, okay.
That's what I want to know about you and I. What were our relationship like? Not the material things, not what you bought me, not how you dressed me. How did we interact with one another? How did we talk to one another? Did we get along? Were we close? What was our relationship like?
Oh, okay. That's what you're saying. Well, our relationship was good. It was just the fact when you were younger, I was in college. So a lot of times I didn't get to come home, but maybe once or twice a month. But, like I said, I was going to college. Then when I got out of college, then we got closer. Then I got to, be the mom I wanted to be at that time. We had a good relationship, but you was a little girl. So, you respected your mom. You used to, run behind me. "Mama, I want to go with you." And we just had a good relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Okay. So my next question is, what age were we when you noticed things began to change in our relationship, and why do you think that is?
I noticed things had changed when you was about 15, 16 in our relationship, because at one time we were real close. But I think it's the fact that sometimes I think when your parents are going through what they're going through, sometimes the children get neglected. And I think that's what happened, because sometimes we as parents, we are selfish. And when we're going through something, it's only about us. And that's not how it's supposed to be. So I made that mistake because it was all about me, and it's not all about me. It's about the children. So when I realized that later on when things happened the next time. But it was just about me, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And then I thought, you know, and I was like, I know I raised Nikki. She's a strong girl. She can handle it.
So for my listeners, because I know our history, I know the things that unfolded, but there are people who are going to be listening to this and they're trying to put the pieces together of what you're saying and have no idea what you're talking about. So at 15, those teenagers, and I would even push it back a year or two, what happened when you say what my parents started going through? The listeners are like, what are you talking about? What happened? So what was going on when you started to feel like it was all about you?
No, let me back up. I can remember I got sick. So my mama came and stayed with us. I was sick. You know, I was sick. I was off work for 6 weeks, I think. Anyway, so I really couldn't do none at that time. At that time, we was okay.
Who was okay? You and my dad?
Me and your daddy. We was okay.
Okay.
That was back in but what happened is you met a boy.
Okay.
And that kind of like did it for you, because you was just, that boy was everything to you. Remember, I talked to you about it, but at the time I had got sick and my mom had to take care of me. So she was taking care of you all because I was at work. Your daddy was at work. Your grandmother was there. So she told me a lot of stuff. And then me, I put my 2 cents in if you wanted me to. But a lot of, I would talk to you, but I said, you know what you're supposed to do. You know right from wrong.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When you say you talk to me, and this is why I'm asking you these things, because how you remember things is not the way I remember things. So when you say you talk to me, what do you mean you talk to me?
Talking about the birth control. Remember, me and you talked about the birth control. And I said, you need
what
to get
conversation do we have about birth control?
When you was dating that boy, because you was active and I didn't know. It's kind of hard for me to explain because it's been so long ago, but I didn't know you were active like he said you were active.
I'm confused on what you mean. That I was having sex?
Yeah, but
why you just not saying have sex? Why you keep saying active? I'm so confused right now. Okay. I was having sex.
And remember, I said, I'm going to get you on birth control before I left for work, before you left for school. I said, I'm going to have to take you to the doctor and we're going to get you on birth control. But you end up getting sick and I end up taking you to the doctor. So that's why the birth control came in.
Okay. So why didn't I get on birth control?
I think when you got sick, it kind of like threw me off. So I don't think we ever discussed birth control again. And I don't know why we didn't discuss birth control again. It was just so much going on. I know I got sick in between that time.
Okay, so back to the original question. Why do you think things changed in our relationship?
Because you wouldn't listen. You had got to the point where I remember the time you was going to school, you was in junior high, you was going to school and the teacher called me and they told me that you was acting ugly to them. And I went up to the school and I got on you about acting. So you can't act ugly to you. And you act ugly to me. And I'm like, this is not my child. So I think when you start getting rebellious, I think our relationship changed when you start dating that guy, and then you just started being somebody I didn't recognize anymore. You start being that child I couldn't talk to anymore,
But my question to you is, do you think that I just woke up one day and that just happened?
No.
That's my point. I'm saying, what do you think happened? Because you keep talking about that young man. I'm saying he had no part in me changing. He had no part.
Like he did. It seemed like he had you change it. To me, I could be wrong because they always say a boy, a man, a boy, whatever, how you change it.
Mom,
so
I'm sitting here as an adult woman telling you, you don't have to equate that to the young man. That is not why I was changing. What was going on within our home that would cause me to begin to date somebody like that or act out like that or become rebellious? Because kids that are rebellious they're not just rebelling just to be rebelling because everything is all good and nice and sweet at home. That's what I'm asking from a parent's perspective. Now looking back, because they say hindsight is 20/20. Looking back on our home, what was going on, the dynamic, you and dad's marriage, all of the things that were happening at that time, why do you think I became that way? Why do you think I started dating this type of guy? Why do you think I became rebellious? What do you think happened?
You probably just was upset about how things were going between me and him. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, because I know you, like you said, I don't know. I don't know, because you have to tell me that, because I don't know, because I know you was not yourself. You was not the little girl I knew. So, I mean, it could be our marriage. I know a lot of times when your parents are going through certain things, children do act out. They do say that. So it could be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have to think. That's what I'm saying. As a child mama, I didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to start disrespecting my parents. I'm going to start dating this guy and having sex. I didn't just wake up and decide to do that. I was rebelling. I was acting out because I was trying to get you guys' attention. Like, you have a child here that needs you. You don't see these red flags going up everywhere, but I don't know. It's just like you guys were so caught up in what y'all had going
Didn't I
on.
just say that? That's what I just said. I said we as parents, we can be selfish at times. And we don't think about the children. The children are the ones to suffer. And that's on everything. When
Yep.
when when the parents are not doing their job, then the children suffer. It don't be us suffering, it be the children suffering. And then sometimes you can't get that child back. You can't get that relationship back with that child like you used to have with that child.
And I'm asking you these questions for myself and for our relationship, but I'm really asking you these things because of my listeners. There are going to be some moms, there's going to be some kids, there's going to be some parents who are going to be listening to this episode, and their child may be acting out or rebellious, and they think, oh, it's that little boy she's dating or that little girl he's dating. No. No, it's not. Because why are they dating those people? Yeah, they may influence them, but why did they go after that person? Why are they dating those type of people? Yeah, my child is talking back and being disrespectful, but that's not who my child is. My child has never been a disrespectful child or talking back or acting out. Like, what is going on here? Don't let me look at what they're doing, but let me get to the root of why they're doing the things that they're doing. And you and dad never did that. Like, y'all never did that. So I just kept on. I stopped eventually. But I'm saying at that point in time, you guys were
Because we were immature. Because we were immature and we did not know how to be good parents. Like, I'm 54 now. I would know how to be a good mother now, because I've learned how you live and you learn, and that's how it is in a marriage. It's just like if I got married right now, I would know how to treat that man because I knew I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? And just like I love my grandkids, I could be a different parent, which they're not my. You know what I'm saying? The
totally
grandchildren are
understand.
different because you know how you would. You wouldn't go the way you used to be. You know how you change. You have to change. God changes your life and He changes your attitude, and things have changed. But as me, as being a mother, I was selfish because I only thought about me. I'm hurting. But you all were hurting, and that's my fault. I don't blame anybody else but me. And I knew that, later on, reflecting back over my life, I said, well, I did this wrong. I did that wrong. If I can go back and redo it, I can do it again. But none of us can go back and redo anything in our life. We have to learn from our mistakes and then do better. So that's what we have to do. Because we all make mistakes. We all have done things. So no one can judge the next person. But yeah, me, I was selfish and I only thought about me. But now I'm not that person anymore. I'm not selfish. I don't think about me. I think about other people. And if I hurt somebody, I try to go back and say, I apologize for hurting you. So we have to think about that because, like I said, I was selfish. Because you remember you told me, you said, Mom, you selfish. You only think about you. And I said, yeah, I was like that. But thank God that I'm not like that anymore. That it's not about me. It's about other people that you have to reach and touch. And you can say, well, I remember how I was. I know how I was. I was not a good parent. I tell people, I said I was not a good parent. I had to learn. I want a parent like my grandmother. I wish I was. My grandmother was awesome. She was an awesome parent, but everybody's not like that. That's why when my grandchildren, I just have so much fun with them, especially the Zoe. I love my grandchildren, and I'm different with them than I was with you and your brother because now I'm mature and I know better.
Amen. They say your grandchildren be your second chance at being parents again, being better parents. That's what people say. Because people always wonder, like, how you let them get away and do things that you do for them, but you didn't do us like that. It's because you, as you said, you learn better. you do better, so usually those grandchildren, they get it a little better than you because now you've learned more. So you want to do something different, even with your grandbabies. Okay. And let me say this, just to be clear, because you said it's my fault. I mean, meaning that's what you were saying about yourself. My brother and I, we had two parents. They don't just fall on you. And I appreciate you taking accountability for that. But something that I had to learn, and I didn't learn this until I became a parent and married and got well into my marriage myself. A lot of the things growing up, I did blame you for. I was angry with you, mad with you. I didn't want to forgive you for a long, long, long time. Because as you said earlier, I was a daddy's girl, so I could see no wrong. But once I got older, I got mature in my walk with the Lord. I was married, had children of my own. I began to see in a way that I had never seen before. Because from a child's perspective, who's a daddy's girl, no, your daddy can't do anything wrong. So anything wrong has to be your mother's fault. So I just want to publicly say that I'm sorry, because for years, I just blamed you for everything. But knowing what I know now and being more mature now, that didn't just fall on you. I had two parents, a mom and a dad growing up in the household. That responsibility fell on both of you guys. That blame is not only for you. My dad has to take a part in that because he played a huge part in that as well. So that's not all your fault. I just want you to know that, coming from me, especially because I already know how you felt about my dad and I's relationship, that I just couldn't see him doing no wrong for a long time. I could not see this man doing any wrong, and that was not fair to you. So I just want to make sure I say that. Okay. Ooh, this is a great question to follow up on this. If you could change anything about our relationship now, what would it be?
I want to do more. Like, how you go out with your girlfriends and y'all go out of town. I want me and you to do that. I want me and you to do things. I want to go out to lunch with you. I want me and you to hang out and you, me, and Zoe and Mariah. I want us to do things. I miss that. Sometimes I be like, well, doggone, Nikki don't call me. I'm over here by myself. I don't have nobody to go nowhere with. I miss that. I be wanting to say, let's go to the coast. Let's do this. Let's do that. Me, you, and the girls, or just me and you, and just have fun. So yeah, that's what I want. I mean, because it's like, I feel like we're not close. We was talking all the time. Now we don't even barely talk. I barely hear from you. So that's how I feel. I feel like, and I know you're busy, and I know how it is when you got all this stuff going on. I know how I work now, and I try to go to Bible class, and I'm in the choir, and I try to do a lot of things in the church too. So I know I be busy too, but I want us to be able to have some mother and daughter time, to laugh and have fun and, do things.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. I ain't mad at that. I'm with that. So is that the only thing you would change, just us spending more time together, hanging out?
Yeah, it's nothing else really to, like, I know sometimes I'm like this. You want to talk to me you wanted to talk to me before about something. I didn't want to talk. I just try not to get you. I don't want to bother you. You know how you be. I'm like this. I'm private. I try to be private, so I don't really nobody know anything. So when I'm going through my situations, I try not to worry you. I don't want you to be worried about me like that. You know what I'm saying? So don't take it to heart when I say, well, Nikki, I don't want to talk, because for one thing, God wants us to talk to him. He wants us to go to him in prayer and for him to fix it. But I know he will send us to people, to help us. But I don't want to ask you for sometimes I ask you for a couple of dollars. I'm just saying, like, something big. I don't want to worry you because you got your own problems. You got your own children. You got your own husband. You got your own life. So I try not to come to you with certain things that, that I got to deal with my own self. So that's why I said, don't take nothing to heed when I say, well, no, Nikki, I don't want to talk about that. So don't take it personal. It's just, I got to figure out for myself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Okay.
And I will say this in response to that. When I want you to tell me more or talk to me more, it's not because I want to fix your problems, because that's not it at all. Because I'm the first one to tell you need to go talk to God about
Yeah.
that. That's
always
gonna always,
that.
yeah, that's
You
gonna
always
always
tell
be
me
my
that.
response. When I say that to you, that is me trying to connect with you. Our relationship was broken for a long time, for many years, and we can never get any of that time back. So I don't want to continue with on the surface stuff. Like you only telling me when stuff is good going on in your life, or only when you're babysitting the grandkids, or you invite me to church with something that you have going on, or things like that. That stuff, that stuff is great. Don't get me wrong. Those things are great, but those are on the surface things. I could do that with anybody. I can have those. I can go visit with anybody at church, any of my associates or people that I deal with in life. But when it comes to my relationship with my mom, I only have one mom. You only have one daughter. We can't get any of that time that we lost back. We can't get any of that back. So when I'm trying to talk to you, that's because I'm trying to connect with you. I'm trying to get closer in my relationship with you so we can get past the on the surface stuff. It's just like a marriage. If my husband and I only talked about work, business, paying bills, kids, but we never dug deeper than that, we're not going to be able to have an intimate, close relationship. It's just going to be a on the surface, take care of business, meet each other needs sometimes type of relationship. That's not what I want with my husband. I want to know his fears, his dreams, what's going on, if he's had a hard day, how I can support him, what's going on in his life. I can't fix everything that's going on in his life, but I can support him. I can listen to him. I can be there. And that's how you build that intimacy. That's how you build that closeness. So when I'm trying to talk to you, that's where I'm trying to take our relationship to. Like, mama, let's get past the on the surface stuff. We got to dig a little deeper. We're going to have some hard conversations. We're going to have to bring up some stuff from the past. Things may get uncomfortable. Yeah, I want to know about the hard things going on in your life, as well as I want to know about the good things in your life. But I just want to connect with you. Then when you respond to me in a way of, I want to be private, I don't want to talk about that, that's like a rejection. That's like you cutting me off to having that kind of relationship with you. So then when you don't hear from me and we don't talk and we ain't spending that time together and hanging out, you text me or call me and wondering like, well, what's going on? I ain't heard from you. It's because when I try to talk to you and connect with you and get closer to you and build our relationship, you shut that down because you don't want to talk about certain things. So we can't get really close, but you want that closeness, but you don't want to do the things that it takes to get that closeness. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because stuff like that, those type of relationships that, like you said, you want to go out of town together and go to lunch and dinner together like I do with my girlfriends. Me and my girlfriends didn't start that overnight. That didn't just happen. That was some investment. We done cried together, prayed together, went through some stuff together. That was an investment. That relationship didn't just happen overnight. We had to really put in work to build the friendships that we have. Okay. Oh, this is good. Let's see what you think about it. I don't know if you're going to think it's good. Let's see. Okay, so my audience knows I'm an advocate for therapy. Everyone knows how I feel about it. I jokingly say all the time, I love Jesus and my therapist. Okay, mama, there are some things in our relationship that we haven't been able to get past alone, meaning just me and you. Because there's even some things that I may dance around, or there's an elephant in the room that I don't speak about. And I don't only do that with you. I've done that in my relationship with dad. It's just certain things I may not bring up because when I've tried to bring them up with you guys, you and him both, y'all either don't want to talk about it. I don't know what it is. So some things I just don't bring up anymore. I'm just like, okay, I'm not even going to ask. I'm not even going to talk about it. Would you be open to going to therapy with me?
Of course.
Okay, of course. I didn't know that was going to be your response. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been to therapy on your own?
No.
No. Why do you think that is?
I really don't know, because it's some things that, I don't know, bother me or sometimes or anything. And kind of, I want to know some things about, especially like about certain things, religious and stuff like that. I kind of want to know, kind of confuse me, especially about, when you, what happens when you die, stuff like that, because I know I'm not getting any younger. So, some things I kind of confused. I don't know. We were talking at Bible class. I was telling him when I was 18 and I went to college, and my friend girl, she always talked about death, and we didn't understand why she was talking about death, and she ended up getting killed that Christmas. And I was telling them at church, it bothered me so bad. I had to end up going to talk to my pastor about it because it scared me so bad because I did not understand. I was scared of death then. Death was just like, I'm like, because back then you 18, you don't think about nothing like that, but death is any age. But back then we didn't know that. I didn't know that. And it's still some things I just didn't understand. But as the years progressed and I got involved in the church and I knew God and things just started happening. Then I wasn't scared anymore, but it's still some things it's still some things like I want to know. And then it's some things I want to make sure, I want to make sure my kids know how much I love them and I want them to be okay when I die. It's just some things I just want to get to do before I leave here. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make sure I'm connected right. I might not be saying it right, but I know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's some things like that. I really, really want to make sure that, when I leave here, you all, won't be saying, well, she was all right, but
Okay. And let me ask you this. Why would you be open to going to therapy with me? Because I really was not expecting, of course, honestly, I was not expecting.
Because I'm sure it's some things that you want to talk about that, that's one thing the therapist going to ask you stuff and you're going to be honest. I would be honest with somebody one-on-one. I don't think I would, like this. We talking about this, but I wouldn't want to be too honest. I want to be honest in private. I wouldn't want to be too honest out in public. You know what I'm saying?
What you mean in public?
When people, how they say you don't tell everybody your business, and that, and I don't want to tell people. You don't tell people everything. It's just like you're doing your testimony. You know how you do your testimony at church, and then you say things, but there's certain things you do not say. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell everything. So that's what I mean. That's what I mean. And some people do tell too much. And you be like, oh my God, I wouldn't have said that.
I've actually never felt that way. And I don't hold back in my testimony. So I don't feel that way.
Okay.
But I know some people do, because some people grew up in families like that or communities like that where you don't tell your business. But I don't feel that way at all. I
think that was on me, because that's how we were raised. I never heard my grandmother and granddaddy fuss. I never heard them argue about money. I didn't even know if they had a bill because you never heard anything. You know what I'm saying? And back then, when grown folks talking, you're not in the room, you gone somewhere else. So a lot of things I was sheltered even by dating a guy that was on drugs. I didn't know nothing about that because I never did that. So, and then my aunt said, Renee, you're stupid, but I'm not. I wasn't stupid. I told her I was sheltered. And when you're sheltered, you don't know anything. I wanted you to know things. I didn't want you to be like me because I was dumb. And I think that's the worst thing to have a child be, is dumb. And they go out to school.
You wasn't dumb. You were naive. That's what it was. You were just naive because you didn't know. Okay. You weren't dumb.
But she said my grandmother sheltered me because I never knew stuff like that. I never knew the world was bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. I mean, I didn't know a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times that hurts a child when they don't know something. That's why they always used to say, okay, y'all put these children in the house. When they get older, they're going what they say, they're gonna be buck wild. And that'd be so true. And that's something I didn't want you to be. I always told you that I didn't want you to be like me, that you didn't know nothing. That's why I think I kind of like let you be free, but which I shouldn't have did. That was my fault. Because I think you were too free. And because I didn't want you to be raised like me, because really I didn't know anything. And that's sad to say. I didn't know anything. Because talking about a period, my grandma didn't want to talk about that. When I was in the 6th grade going to Watkins, I got on my cycle and my grandma still didn't tell me about it. My mom told me about it because I thought I did something wrong. You see what I'm saying? Back then, they didn't talk about that kind of stuff. My grandma never talked to me about sex. I didn't go to my mom about sex. I talked to my mom's best friend and she told me what to do and she was going to take me. But as far as like talking to them, I couldn't do that. I felt like I just felt embarrassed.
Yeah. And then you, in return, took that over into your mothering because you didn't have conversations with me about sex or my cycle or or any of those things. And that's what we talk about, breaking those generation cycles. And when I say that, it's not like a knock to you as my mom or to my dad. It's just like, again, like you said, you didn't know. You were naive. You weren't taught. So if you weren't taught, then you raise your children and you don't teach them because you didn't know and you weren't taught. So when I had kids, I wanted to do things completely different. I talked about my kids about everything. And sometimes they say I talk too much, but that's just because I want to prepare them, because if I don't prepare them, the world is ready to tell them and prepare them. Because I was out there in that world. I heard all of that information and did a bunch of that stuff. And I don't want that for my kids, even though they will be the ones that will have to make those decisions of what they do. You know, I won't be there with them always. But even when they're out there, they'll have the information. Oh, my mom told me about sex. My mom told me about protection. My mom told me about STDs. You know, my mom, when with Mariah with a cycle, my mom has prepared me. You know, like I made her a little pouch with pads and Midol and freshener wipes. Just whenever it's the time, she'll be prepared, she'll be ready. Like I just wanted, that was my whole mindset as a mom. I want to prepare my kids. My mom didn't talk to me about a lot of stuff. And then as I became an adult, I learned why you didn't talk to me about a lot of stuff, because nobody talked to you about it. So I wanted to make sure.
I was embarrassed. I didn't know how to, like you said, because I was not taught them kind of things. I didn't know nothing about sex. I remember my first experience, I was like 16. I didn't know nothing about none of that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay. And then I was, like I said, I was so embarrassed, and certain things I don't, and like all that mushy, I love you stuff. And we didn't do that. When people started talking about they love me and stuff, that's when I moved to Chattanooga. My family down there, they into that I love you stuff. Yeah. I said, boy, I love you down there than I ever did here. Because I don't say that kind of stuff.
It's not funny. It's not funny at all, but I'm just literally thinking about how we take these things from generation to generation to generation. I'm literally just sitting here listening to it, because my husband and I talk, Corey and I talk about that all the time, how we didn't grow up with that affection, our parents saying they love us, hugging us, you know, we didn't grow up with that. So when we had kids, I wanted to do things so different because of this reason right here. Like I hug my kids, I tell my kids I love them every day. They're like, oh my gosh, you leave me alone. But it's just, I want them to know. I really want them to know. And I know you and dad loved me, but as a child, you don't know. You know, now as an adult, I know that, but as a child growing up, I didn't feel that. You know, I'm crying and it's like, why are you crying? What you mean, why am I crying? I'm hurt right now. Why are you asking me why am I crying? It's just, yeah. So I understand now. And thank you so much for explaining like how you grew up. And I'm sure how grandma grew up. I'm sure her parents, she did even better than her parents did. So each generation, I just hope we get better, because I hope my kids are better than me as parents. I hope much better than their dad and I. So each generation, I really just hope we continue to get better and better and better. Okay, next question. What do you admire most about me as a mom? Because you're my mom, and now watching it play back, looking at your daughter be a mom to your grandchildren, what do you admire most?
I admire most, especially you and Corey, but you all, I wish that like y'all go, you know, your kids are in basketball and all that kind of stuff. I wish that I had you and your brother and stuff like that. I always wanted that to, you know, your brother play baseball and you play something else. I wish I could have did that. So you are so involved in your children's academic and then their sports, and then y'all take them out of town. I wish we could have did that for you all, but we didn't have the money. Like you all, y'all, and then I like the fact what Corey said, you are such a good financial person. He said he would have spent all the money, but you know how to save. You know how to put that money back for a rainy day, or for I got to pay this bill next week. I got to put this back. I can't spend it. You that type of person. And I love the fact how your children are involved in the church and they sing in the choir and all that. I wish I had did that for you and your brother. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things. And I just think about it. And little Zoe, she is so precious. And I said, look at little Nikki. And every time I see her, I said, that's little Nikki. That's Nikki right there, you know. And you just such an awesome mother. And I tell you that all the time. You a giver. Your children never lack for anything. I mean, because you knew how it was like when you struggle. And I was telling the lady that worked with me, I said, my daughter is such a good mom. I said, I remember that time when she had to stay with her mother-in-law for a whole year. She said she didn't ever want to have to do that again. And I was telling that girl, I said, my daughter, I'm just so proud of how the woman she's become. She is awesome. And she my hero, but she don't know that. But I was just saying, what a good parent you are. And I told her, I said, I love when she called me, keep the kids. I love that she don't understand how much I love that. I love doing that. It's not a time when she don't call me and say, can you keep the kids? I love to keep the kids. And then when I want to keep them, I said, my grandson, he's 15 now, he keep them. So I told him, I don't get to keep my babies no more. I'm not useful no more. Me and her were laughing. But I was just telling her how proud I am of you. And I said, her husband said, if it weren't for Nikki, he would have been broke. But he said, Nikki, it's a good manager. And I'm proud of you for all that stuff. And then the most important thing I'm proud of you is your relationship with God. Because when you have a relationship with God and all the stuff you've been through, and then when you tell your testimony, especially about when you gave me that money and I got burnt out, and then you were saying you didn't have a job, and then look how God fixed it for you to get that job, and I just think about what he did for you, and then I can go back and say, look what he did for me. And then you make me want to be a better Christian. You know what I'm saying? Because I admire you. You know stuff in the Bible I don't know. That's why I make sure I try to go to Bible class, learn more, because it's good to know. Like right now I'm in new ministry class, because you have to take that when you join the church. You go through the new members class, and I like that. When I used to call you when I lived in Chattanooga and I needed a word, especially when my aunt, how she acted toward me, and you told me, you said, Mama, it don't mean you ain't no Christian because you act like that, and how ugly she acted on me. And I said, Nikki, she ain't no Christian. You said, Mama, that's not true. You said sometimes we act outside of our character. But whatever you said, you were right on the money, because you said, Mama, she gonna apologize to you. And she did apologize to me. But I'm so proud of you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just so proud of you. And just words just can't explain to you how much I admire you. And you're just and I tell people, I said, my daughter is awesome. That's all I can say. She's an awesome mother. She's an awesome wife. She's just an awesome person altogether. And, you just awesome. So you keep up what you're doing, because you're awesome. And that's all I can say, because you're awesome.
Well, you said a lot, young lady. You talking about that's all you can say, is if you really didn't say much. That was a lot. And you made my heart proud. Thank you so much for that. Like, you literally just filled my cup up. So I appreciate that, for real. Because as you stated while you were talking, like, you think these things of me, but I don't know them, because you don't tell me. If you don't tell me, I don't know. I can't read your mind on how you feel about me or what you think about me. So I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Ooh, this is a great question. In what ways do I remind you of yourself?
The no nonsense, not taking no for an answer, the go-getter. If something happens today, you're still going to find a way to make it work. And if it don't work, it meant that wasn't for you, but you're going to find a way to persevere. I know you're a persevere. I'm a persevere. I've been through a lot, but I still go on. I've had people walk out of my life. I've had people talk about me. I've had people lie on me. You the same way, but you still persevere. The young man hit my car, could have been dead, but God wasn't ready for me. And your stories, I mean, it's just like I said, she just like me in a lot of ways. You just like me. You're not a quitter. No matter what comes your way, you're not confrontational. You try not to hurt people's feelings. This is how you are. If I call you right now and I say, I'm mad at you about something, you know what you're going to say? Mama, I'll talk to you later. You have a good day. You're not finna confront me. You're not finna go off on me. You just going to be saying, Mama, I'll talk to you later. And then I'm going to sit and I'm the same way, because a lot of times people want you to be confrontational with them. But a lot of times you got to say, okay, if I did something to offend you, I apologize. And a lot of times I know for a fact I've had to apologize to people, and I never done anything to them. But God has us to do that for a reason. And you like that, get your brother's situation when he thought the wrong thing. So, I mean, it's just like a lot of times you can tell people you're sorry, but they don't accept it. But that's on them. That's not on you. But you are just that type of person. And even when people wronged you, you still go out and help them. And that's just how I am too. And I mean, I deal with this lady at work. I try to talk to her. Me and her work right across from each other. Some days she'll talk, some days she don't. She has a really bad attitude. I try to talk to her. She going through things. I try to talk to her. I said, okay, God, this is my assignment. That's why I'm here. for somebody. And I be like, and I know one day I had come back from break or something, and I knew something was wrong with her. And I kept on trying to talk. I said, what is wrong? She wouldn't tell me. Then she started crying. I said, whatever it is, it's none of my business. I promise it's gonna be all right. That's you. That's you. That is you. That is you. Mama, I don't care what it is. It's going to be all right. And you don't have to tell me, mama. You don't want to tell me? It's going to be all right. And that's, me and you, that's it. I mean, we just persevere. We go getters. I just can't even explain it, but I'm just saying that's how you are. I don't talk enough.
Okay. Next question. How important do you think a healthy relationship is between a mother and her child or children?
It's very important. But I think a lot of times as parents, we show favoritism, which we should never have a favorite child. And I know my mom, she has a favorite child. And you know how we say, we ain't gonna have no favorite children, but that's not really true. Because sometimes we do favor one of the children over the other one, which we should never do. So I think an important relationship between a parent and a child is to love both of the children equal. Let them know equally that you love them both, even though one of them might be different than the other child. One of them might do things you don't like, but the other one's just like, you just say, oh, that child is just so awesome. Everything they do is awesome. And then the other child, you're like, oh, I don't like this. But we as parents, we can't do that. So we as mothers, we have to make sure we don't favor another child over another one. Even if the other child disappoint us, let them know we still love them the same. Do not treat another child different. That's why a lot of times children and parents, they fall out, especially children, they'll fall out with their parents because they'll be like, I saw people do it. My child, my mom, she don't like me. I ain't got time for that. I don't ever want to be in that kind of relationship where my children don't want to have nothing to do with me and I miss something out special in their life. So you always got to make sure you treat both children equally and let both children know you love them the same, no matter what they do, no matter what they do, no matter what they do, you love them both the same. And we as parents, and I know me, and I know a lot of times we do favor other children over the other one. And we can't do that because that makes a child feel less than, and you don't ever want that. You don't want nothing to happen to the child because something you did. So you have to be careful how you do that. So you always want to make sure that you tell both children you love them just the same. And it doesn't matter whatever they do, they can always come and talk to you about anything and you would never judge them. So I think we as parents, especially mothers, we have to do that.
You talked about not favoring one child over another child, but what about the people who don't have multiple children, or the people who may have multiple children, but they don't favor one child over the other one? How can they make sure they have a healthy relationship with their children besides not favoring one over the other? What are some ways a mom can make sure and for the adult child that's listening as well, that may be listening to us talking this conversation, what can they do to make sure they have a healthy relationship with one another?
By spending time with the children, and sometimes spending one-on-one with one child and then another time with the other child, and telling that child you love them both, you love them the same, and just doing special things with children, or just calling them up saying, how was your day? I just thought about you and I called to let you know I love you. And you call up and say the same thing. And you keep that, and then you make sure you ask them, you say, was there anything you want to talk about? Do you need any advice? Are you okay? Is everything going good? Do you need me to talk to you about anything? I'm here to listen, not talk. Just listen to what you have to say. So, I mean, that helps out. I'm telling you, that helps out a whole lot. It really does. It helps out a whole lot.
Okay, that's good. I'm laughing at you doing these different voices whenever you describe something or you're describing somebody else talking. Why you make these special voices for them?
I don't know. But let me tell you the most nicest thing. When you have a relationship with your child and there's something wrong with that child, God's gonna he will let you know. I remember me and your dad, we were married and we didn't have any groceries. And I told your dad, I said, something gonna work out. My mother and your grandmother came over to a house when we were staying and they bought us groceries. And I was like, how did y'all know? And my mom said, I knew that you didn't have any groceries. And she bought me groceries. I just started crying. I thought that was so beautiful. So it's times in a mother's life when you're going to know something is wrong with that child, or you're going to feel it. And you be like, what's going on? What's wrong? Or you send them something just because you love them, and just to let them know, I was thinking about you today. So, I mean, God gives us mothers, he gives us intuition, and we know. And I believe that.
Okay. If you were giving a second chance to start all over as a mom, what would you do differently?
The first thing I think I would do differently is finish college. I would have finished college. That's one thing I would have did different. I wouldn't have got married. I would have waited to make sure that's what I should have did. And I would have made provisions for my child. I would not ever have neglected her or made her feel like she wasn't wanted or had her crying. I would have made sure she knew I loved her every day. Anything you need to talk about, anything you need your mom to do, I'm here for you. And just let you know, I would have smothered you. You would say, Mom, leave me alone. But yeah, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I would have been a better parent. Like I said, I would have been hands-on. Wouldn't have been nothing that would have separated me from spending time with you and knowing what you need and making your, what I'm saying, and giving you your wants. And, I wouldn't have worried about nothing. I wouldn't have been selfish. I would have been a better person. You would have been going to church. You would have been in the choir. You've been in Sunday school, all the stuff that I did when I was a child. Because I was in the choir, I was in the youth choir. I was in the youth group. I mean, I did everything in church. I love church. I was Sunday school secretary. I mean, I was everything. I would have had you do everything. They been like, dog, she in everything. That's what I would have did different. I would have been that hands-on mother. You would have never had to worry about. You wouldn't have went through the things you went through. I would have sheltered you, smothered you, and be like, Mama, please. So, yeah.
I hope you wouldn't have sheltered me. Don't do that. If you did give it a start over, don't do that. Okay. And let me ask you this, because you're saying me to all your responses, but to my audience and my listeners, they know I have a brother. What would you have done differently with my brother as a mom?
Not smothered him. So I think I babied him too much. I wouldn't have did that. I think I did. I know I did that too much. Yes, I babied him too much.
Okay. Got you. Okay. This is the last question. What encouragement or advice would you offer to the mom who wants to have a better relationship with their adult child from a mom's perspective? So you are the mom in this scenario. I am the adult child. What advice or encouragement would you offer to the other moms who may be listening from your perspective on how they can have a better relationship with their adult child?
Okay, that's a good question. I think the first thing, as parents, when our children get grown, for one thing, if our children don't ask us for advice about their love life or anything like that, we stay out of it. Ooh. I think we as mothers, we should let the child know we proud of them, no matter what they do, no matter the mistakes they have, and that if they need us, if they absolutely need us, we will be there. But we will never try to overtake their life and try to tell them what they should do and what they shouldn't do, because you will run off a grown child fast. We have to be listeners, and then also we as parents on our adult children. If we're busy and they need us to keep the children, we got to learn how to say no. We can't always be available. Sometimes we have our own lives too. So we have to make sure that, and then we can't, like I said, make sure the number one thing, don't interfere in your children's marriage. Anything like that. Don't interfere how they raise their children. Let them do what they do. If they need you, then they'll call you and they say, Mom, I need you. And you would say, okay, I got it. Can you pick up the kids today for school? Of course I can. Things like that. but don't be so involved in your children. Like, don't always want to come over to your children's house. Let them invite you to their house. I never come over
Ooh.
to my daughter's house. I never do that. She'll call me. I don't ask her. I don't come over her house. I don't bother her. I don't interfere in her marriage. I have nothing to do with that. That's between her and her husband. I stay out of that, because if she need my advice, believe me, she will call me. So we as mothers, remember this: stay out of our grown children's lives unless they want us to give them advice. That's the best thing. Let them know. They'll say, my mom never bothered me. I'm gonna call my mom and get her advice, because I know me as a mother. I've called my daughter plenty of times and asked her for her advice, and she always gave me good answers, and I love that. And always be proud of your children. Never tell them what, I don't think you should do that. Don't do that. That's another way to run them off. Don't ever do that. Say, whatever you think is best for you, do that. Remember, mothers, we have to stay out of our children's business, out of their marriages, out of their homes. Let them raise their children how they want to. Let them come to us when they want some advice. Don't be giving them advice and running them off. They won't talk to us about anything. You want your children to come to you. You be the listener. Let them talk to you. Don't do anything, especially to their marriage. I had that problem, and I don't want that on nobody. That ruins a good marriage. You as a mother running up and down over there telling what he doing, he ain't no good. You need to leave him alone. Let her decide what she want to do on her own. Give them space. Let them call you when they want you to babysit, and you can babysit. Babysit. If you can't, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty, because believe me, they're not going to feel guilty either. So anyway, do that and love your children. Love on them. Get up. Sometimes put some money in the mailbox for them. They might not even need no money, but let them know, I was thinking about you today. I love you. Buy you some ice cream. Stuff like
Some
that will
ice
go
cream.
a long way. So always remember, mothers, stay out of your children's business. That's the number one thing. And the second thing, always remember to pray for them all the time. And that way, God got them and you don't have to worry about it. That's it.
Girl, I am, first of all, you in this voice that you do. I can't wait till you hear this so you can hear these little voice imitations that you've done this whole episode. Second of all, that was amazing. Speaking from an adult child, that was amazing advice. I'm talking about that was some wisdom for your behind. Like, I really hope my moms that are listening to this, I really hope you guys take heed to what my mom just said, because that was some amazing advice. Because I'm not a mom yet to adult children. I'm still raising my baby. So I'm trying to learn a lot. And I've experienced a lot on the other side of that. So it's a lot of things I am, you know how people have bought sense, like they need to experience it. I'm not necessarily one of those people. I can see how it impacted me, how it made me feel, and I will do something completely different with my kids. I don't have to go down this same road. So I am learning a lot, and I'm like, man, when my children get grown, when they get married, when they have kids of their own, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make sure that they partner feel this way. It's just so many things. I'm already in my mind, like the wheels are already turning on how I want to do things as a mother, grandmother, a mother-in-law. Like, it's already in my mind of how I want to do things. So my mom just gave some great, wise advice. Mama, I'm talking about, I could cash a check with what you just said. Like, that was some good stuff for real. Like, for real. And I really hope my listeners take heed to that, because I will say this about you and Dad. Don't get me wrong. Growing up, y'all made mistakes. As parents, we all do. And you've already said it was because a lot of things you didn't know, or you were embarrassed. It's various reasons. You were selfish, whatever. You and Dad were going through. You guys separation, and all of these things played a part in why you did or did not do. But something you guys both did well. I'm talking about, you did amazingly well. I can't speak for my brother, but I can speak for me. You guys never involved yourselves with my life as an adult. You were there to support me if I needed y'all, if I reached out to y'all, if I called y'all. But when I say y'all never involved yourselves in my life, with my job, my career decisions, with raising my kids, when it came to Corey and I's marriage, when we bought our home, like whatever decision we wanted to make as adults, as a married couple, as a family unit, meaning Corey and I and our kids, you guys never involved yourselves. You didn't try to make us feel bad about decisions we made or question our decisions or involved yourself, or like you said, popping up in my house or just coming over here. You guys have never done that. Like, you've never done it. And I tell people that all the time. That is one of the things I admire most about you and my dad, that you guys always let me be an adult. Like, even when I bumped my head or made mistakes or learned along the way. And I appreciate that so much. And that's why my relationship with Christ is as strong as it is. And that's why people can see it in how I live my life. Because when I was going through things, getting married young, having kids young, starting our family, and I was going through all of the things that I was going through, I had to learn how to depend on God. I couldn't try to be dependent on everybody else. I really had to learn how to depend on God. And he carried me through all of those different seasons of my life. But imagine if you and dad would have tried to do something different, how that would have played a part or intervened with my relationship with God. If you were always there to try to save me or rescue me or keep me from bumping my head, or always trying to do everything as if I'm not an adult, and I didn't need to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet and learn how to depend and trust in God, my life could have played out so differently. But you guys, y'all literally just let me spread my wings and fly. And I did just that. And I appreciate you guys both so much for that y'all never tried to intervene in my life. You never tried to dictate my decisions or involve yourself in my home in any kind of way. And I really appreciate that, because I know that's hard. I can imagine that that's really hard for a parent to see their kids going through things or suffering, or, you want to just step in because these are your kids. You kind of want to step in, but you guys, y'all just let me be an adult. And again, if I ever needed y'all for support or encouragement or whatever that I may have needed, I could always pick up the phone and reach out if that's what I wanted to do. But I never felt obligated or pressured in any kind of way. It was only if I wanted to. So thank you guys so much for that. Like, I really appreciate you, Mama. Great advice. Great advice. The only thing I would add to what you've already said on the advice, I want to hit it from the child's perspective, because you hit it from the mom's perspective, from the adult child. One of the things you could do if you want to have a better relationship with your adult child, because this is where me and my mom, where me and you struggled for a long time, which I think therapy will help a lot in this. So I'm going to call you later so we can get that set up. But when I go to my therapist for my next session, I'm going to see when we can get in for a session, because I really do think that was great. And you said, of course, so I'm going to take you up on that. But another piece or layer that I would add to the amazing advice my mom has already given is parents learning how to take accountability for your decisions of what you did or didn't do. Because where me and my mom bumped heads for so long, especially when we first started having these conversations about how I grew up and how I felt about the things that I was going through and why I was acting the way I was acting, I felt like my mom was not taking accountability for what my experience was. Because sometimes as parents, we only see it from our perspective. Me now being a parent, I understand. Sometimes we can only see it from our perspective. But when our kids are trying to talk to us, especially our adult children, when they're trying to talk to us and explain to us, well, this is how I felt about the decisions that you made. This is how it impacted me. This is what my experience was. This is how I thought you felt about me. Don't try to get defensive. Don't try to put your guard up and protect yourself. Receive what your child is saying. Just listen to them. Really hear it from their perspective and take accountability, meaning, yes, I did do this. I made this decision. This is why. Because you heard my mom take accountability during this episode. She was selfish. They were going through the things that they were going through. They thought it was about them. The different things that she said, that's accountability. Don't turn it around on the child and make the child feel guilty or say that something that they experienced didn't happen, because you're not that child. You don't know how what you say or what you do impacts your child, how it makes them feel, how it makes them see themselves, how it makes them think about themselves. So when your adult child is trying to explain or even ask questions and want to know better and get a better understanding, really take the opportunity to listen to them. It's not who did what, tiff and tat, or fight, or them trying to put you down. Literally just listen to them, accept their perspective on what happened and how it made them feel, so that you guys can get to a better place in your relationship, because that's the goal, to have a healthy relationship with your adult child. I hope that's your goal. But as long as you don't take accountability, you make excuses, you get defensive, your child is going to shut down. They're not going to want to talk to you about it. They're not going to want to deal with you. So take accountability, listen to your child's perspective, and you guys can move on to get to that place where you can have a healthy relationship. Okay, Mama, we are officially done. What do you think? How do you feel? Any last words for the audience?
No, I hope every mother had a wonderful Mother's Day. And soon, Father's Day is coming up. So don't forget the men. Don't forget the men. All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Mama, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. And girl, it was good. It was really good. I enjoyed our conversation tonight. I love you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you for being my mom, like legit, for being my mom. I know we've had some bumps in the road and broken pieces here and there and trying to figure it all out, but we are getting there. And I appreciate you for never giving up. Like, no matter what happened, or when I stopped talking to you, or when I made it hard, or just wanted you to take accountability or have a hard conversation with me, even if it made you uncomfortable or you didn't talk about it, you never gave up. You continued trying in our relationship with me. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. I love you. And to my audience, remember, I love you, but God loves you so much more. I'll see you guys next week. Bye. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Follow me on Facebook at Demo with Mo. If you have any questions you would like answered here live on my podcast, email them to me at demowithmo@gmail.com. That's DEMOWITHMO@gmail.com.